For more on this, I want to bring in Dr. Susannah Hills. She's a pediatric airway surgeon and assistant professor at Columbia University Medical Center. Welcome, Dr. Hills. So Pfizer's early data studied 2 vaccine doses. What did that early data say about exactly how effective that was?
Well, the key thing, Lana, about the data was that it showed that the doses were safe. So there were very few negative side effects. It was a very safe thing to be administering. However, they found that a 2-dose regimen just really wasn't very effective in mounting the kind of immune response they were hoping to get, the kind of immune response they were getting from 2 doses with the older age kids that had already been getting the Pfizer vaccine. So the question was, how do we get this vaccine to be effective, but we know that it's safe in this younger age group?
So if we know that it's safe, Dr. Hills, but it's not as effective as they want, what do you think about the decision to delay shots for younger children while they're investigating this 3rd dose regimen? Why not move forward with 2 doses right now and then reevaluate booster shots like they've done for other age groups?
Yeah, it would be really unorthodox to evaluate and approve a regimen, a dosing regimen for a medication or a vaccine that wasn't the full dosing regimen that was anticipated. So they were planning to look at just the first 2 doses, which already was showing evidence that it wouldn't be enough. And they were really missing some essential critical data on whether or not that 3rd dose would really be effective in addition. So to begin with just 2 doses, an incomplete regimen, really unusual for the FDA to approve something like that that's incomplete. And I think in the interest of preserving public faith in the process, in the interest of sticking to their standardized practices within the FDA, they decided to hold off for now and wait for more complete data with a more complete dosing regimen for the vaccine for the younger age group.
You know, for a lot of parents, this was disappointing news. A lot of us with young children have been anxiously awaiting approval of a vaccine. So what are the best recommendations right now while we await a vaccine?
Yeah, I think we have so much work we can do with getting our older kids vaccinated who, in fact, are able to get a vaccine that has been approved, that 5 to 11 and then the 12 to 16-year-old age groups. We have a lot of work to do. The older age group of the 11 to 15-year-old age range really is only nationally at about 50% of kids in that age group vaccinated, and the younger age group, the 5 to 11-year-olds, it's about 24% of that age group is fully vaccinated. So we have a lot of work we can do to get those kids vaccinated, and those are the kids who will be in school or more likely to be in group settings and high-risk settings with other kids. So I think focusing on that for now is really important. And then for young kids, the very best thing that families can do is to make sure everybody who's eligible around them is vaccinated and protected, and to pay a lot of attention to what's going on in your community. If there's a high transmission rate, a high infection rate in your community, and in some places around the country, we still have positive test rates that are above 30%. So there are plenty of places in the country where there are high positivity rates still. And I would be much more cautious about bringing a younger child in contact with a large number of people if there's a really high transmission rate. And I'd be very cautious about putting a young child in contact with other people who aren't masking or aren't vaccinated if you're in a high transmission area.
I want to follow up on something you said there about that low vaccination rate, especially among elementary age students, 24%. A lot of places are planning on lifting mask requirements in the coming weeks. Do you expect that this will make a substantial difference in the fight against the pandemic?
So we'll have to wait and see. I think if we're protecting our larger community by having a high vaccination rate and we're seeing that there is a low infection rate in the community, then dropping some of these masking requirements does make sense. But I think it really only makes sense when you're at a positive test rate somewhere around 5% or lower. And that's not most of the country yet. We're very close in many parts of the country, but I think really you want a positivity rate that's lower than 5%, certainly not above 10%. And so a lot of it depends on what the vaccination rates and the infection rates are in the local communities. But I think it is reasonable to drop some of these mask requirements in areas where vaccinations are going well and in areas where the positive testing rates are going down. And I think that will happen in the coming weeks more and more as we move forward. I think it is a hair early for mass dropping of masking in schools right now, but maybe in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
All right, Dr. Susannah Hills, thank you for joining me, and thank you for all that you do.
Thanks so much, Lana.